Hello and welcome to the Meditation Movement podcast with the British School of Meditation.
In this podcast, we will share all things meditation, including showcasing the wonderful work that our register of meditation teachers are doing all over the country and further afield, and helping so many people benefit from this amazing practice.
Meditation and community are our two biggest passions, and we can't wait to share them both with you in this space.
So sit back, relax, maybe even close your eyes, and don't forget to breathe. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hi everybody, I'm Catherine Banks and I'm one of the co-owners of the British School of Meditation, and I'm here today with the lovely Janice Thompson to discuss all things meditation and energy techniques and grief, which Janice specialises in. Really excited about this conversation because Janice and I both work together in offering grief retreats, which we'll talk about later, and have become very good friends in the process of doing so. So it'll be really nice to have a chat with Janice today about her work using meditation and EFT. So hi Janice.
Oh, hi Catherine, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really pleased to be here. It's just so lovely. We're going to have a lovely chat.
Yes, it's really nice to see you as well. Yeah, so it'll be great just to kind of, let people know about your journey through meditation and, incorporating it into EFT, which is, the therapy that you specialize in, as we'll talk about. So before we go on to your work with meditation and, specializing in grief, can you just tell us a little bit about your meditation practice? So why you first started to practice meditation, how you came?
Yeah, no, definitely. Always been quite a hyper person. Not found it always very easy to relax. But early on, I think really one of my main forms of meditation was running. I think that I would actually regard that as my first introduction to a meditative type state because, I've always loved running. I've run since I was really little, and it would be the one thing I could do that just helped me just obviously not clear my mind, but just calm everything down a lot. It was really a time for me that I could get out and just feel different. So I think really that's when my meditation started, really, without even realising. It was only when we were talking about doing this this podcast that I actually thought, that's really when it all started. And then gradually I started to go to some yoga that included meditation, and I literally found that I couldn't even lay still. And I thought there's something not right here with me because I literally, for the meditation, I'd be like shaking and fidgeting, and I realised that I find this like so hard to calm my nervous system down. Really, I was just so hyper, really. Yeah. So I carried on going to yoga and with this meditation practice in it. Which was quite a still one, which probably wasn't my best one to start with. But it really started me off on a road to realise actually I really could benefit from the calmness for me of meditation. So then I started doing some guided meditations, which I still love. I love my guided meditations, which really, I just loved it, just going off into a different space. And mantras, I like mantras. And, having done the course with yourself, I've discovered so many different types of meditation that I really do love all different types of meditation. And it's really helped me in my personal well-being, as well as helping my clients in my work, definitely.
Amazing. So what do you feel has been like the biggest benefit for you from meditating on a regular basis, listening to guided meditations?
Yeah, I think it's just really, on a physiological level, I think it's really calmed my nervous system down, from that being quite hyper, quite full on all the time. It's allowed me to have some calmness, some quiet time. and also to have some revelations really for me in my, my personal life. It's when I'm really sitting quiet that things come to me. It's allowed me to be a lot more quiet than my brain's always like 2,000 miles an hour. And meditation has helped not only on that physiological level, I think, but on a mental level. There's been times in my life, having worked with grief, where I've been really quite struggling with my own well-being, mental well-being, and that has definitely helped me with feeling quite low and depressed on occasions as well.
Yeah.
Massively.
Yeah. I was going to ask actually, because I know obviously you are an EFT therapist and you work with a lot of people who are, experiencing grief, which we'll talk about later. Do you find, because I know for me it does, but do you find that meditating often and regularly helps you to, kind of compartmentalize that? Because obviously you're very empathetic, you kind of hold that space for people when you're in therapy, and it can be often difficult to distance yourself from that, can't it, when in your own life, set boundaries from taking on other people's energy, to speak. Do you find that meditation helps you to do that?
Definitely, and even just in a small way, before I see my clients, I get myself into a little space where I take some breaths. Meditation, as you well know, as your listeners know, it's not always about sitting for long periods of time. You can meditate in a really short space of time as well, but it's that practice of being able to get into that space that's right for you. That, as exactly as you said, it really helped me to do a little bit of meditation before I see a client, which really brings me into a space of calm and quiet, and my sort of personal life moving out the way, and afterwards as well. Because yes, you're exactly right, and I didn't realise it for so many years when I started working as a therapist, how much I was taking on.
Yeah,
I was just taking on so much of other people's stuff, and then not really knowing, and then not knowing what to do with it. So when I got the awareness that, I am taking on people's stuff and I'm not feeling great because of a session, then I started upping my practice actually, really. Which is daily now, which I love, and it's just been an absolute godsend to me, definitely.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Janice. And I think it's really helpful for people to recognize, isn't it? Because I think sometimes when you meditate as well, you start to recognize more that you are taking on other people's stuff, doesn't it? Whether that's in therapy or, just in regular life, whether you kind of recognize your emotions better, you recognize how you're feeling and maybe what's triggered that.
Yeah. And I think adding to that, actually, as you're saying that, it's helped. Meditation has really helped me to understand me.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it, because, I love that self-discovery journey that we're all on. But meditation has really been a big part of that. And I love that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And creativity. I actually, with my meditation with running, I get all sorts of creative ideas when I'm running. And that just feels so gentle and wonderful.
Yeah. We were having this conversation actually on I just run a training course this weekend, and we were saying how, because nowadays there's so much, everyone's just stimulated all of the time, aren't they? We've got everything at our fingertips, like phones, TV, knowledge at your fingertips, and everyone seems to just be doing things all of the time. Often that stifles that creativity, doesn't it? It stifles the ability to just give your mind space to conjure up ideas or to have inspiration.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's just so full on all the time with, as you said, with social media thing, or you even go out for a meal and there's telly's playing and the different music's playing, and it's just we're so overstimulated that allowing our body to just settle into some sort of either silence or quiet is just healthy on so many levels, isn't it? On so many levels, and the creativity is just definitely one of those.
Absolutely.
Really,
yeah. So moving on to your training. So I was lucky enough to train you, to be your trainer, and then we kind of, ours was a bit of a strange journey because we then kind of swapped roles, didn't we? And you then trained to be an EFT, so we've both been on the kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. What was your main motivation for training to become a meditation teacher?
Well, I've actually, as we've just spoken about, I specialise in working with grief, and I do that via working with energy techniques. So, as we said earlier, EFT, which is emotional freedom techniques, which is the tapping, if anybody wants to look that up, and a few other energy techniques as well. And I wanted to add another dimension to helping my clients with their grief on a one-to-one, helping them to understand that grief, that meditation can be a good part of their way to help them heal themselves, maybe, for want of a better word, moving and integrating their grief. Meditation, I believe, was, it helped me so much. I thought it'd be a really good thing to add into my work on a one-to-one, as I said, but also on my group works that I do. And as we'll have a little chat later about, we've included it in our retreats. But I think it's such a positive and helpful thing for people to do that are grieving, and that's why I wanted to learn. How to be a meditation teacher, not just someone who goes, meditation, anyone can do that, let's just go off and do it. I wanted to learn about the different, the different types of meditation, the history behind it, science behind it, and I did research quite a lot on which course to take, and I'm so glad I found you guys, because it was a really brilliant course. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, really helpful.
I'm glad you found us as well. Very glad. So what was your favourite kind of aspect of the course? I know you said you wanted to learn around the meditation, and I know we look at a lot of different techniques of meditation on the course as well, don't we? So was there any particular aspects of it that you found the most helpful for you in your work or yourself?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the different techniques, the different types of meditation, because then that allowed me to help clients individually with what meditation helped, was the best one for them, as opposed to me just knowing one thing to do and doing it. So each of my clients have got a different varied way that they can meditate, which I love. But on the course as well, I love the research, the presentation that we had to do. I love that, because I'm a research person. I love it, and to go away and just find something that really interested me as part of meditation. And I chose compassion, and I've kept it, and I've included that in my work ever since. So that was a really, really lovely learning curve with that, understanding how compassion fits into meditation, and how indeed it really helps with people that are grieving as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember your presentation. Actually, I remember you talked about the difference between empathy and compassion, didn't you?
Yeah.
How it's helped you, that understanding's helped you in your work as a therapist.
Yeah, massively. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's great that you've been able to incorporate it as well. I think we're both the same, aren't we? We both really love research, so that's why we're
that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Don't we? So
that's it. Yeah. So that was really, really beneficial to me, and I've used it. I use it all the time now, so that's how beneficial it is to me. Now, the other things I've done, different therapies, different things, I use them a little bit, but the meditation that I learned from yourself has been something that's always included in my work.
Yeah, amazing. So I know we've mentioned your main kind of modality that you work with is EFT, emotional freedom technique, known as tapping. How do you find that? And obviously you specialize in helping people through grief and supporting people through grief. How have you found that kind of meditation is? Do you find that it integrates well in your work? Do you think it fits well alongside EFT?
Yeah, I think I'm one of these people that I practice what I preach. Yeah, so if I'm teaching or helping people, I would not offer them anything that I wouldn't be prepared or do myself if I feel it's helpful. So being able to offer meditation, I've seen how clients that are grieving, it has really helped them. Yeah. That's the first thing I'll say, because when we're grieving, we are in shock a lot of the time, just to start with, certainly. And when we're in shock, we can be numb, we don't know, we can be confused. All of those feelings that are associated, that we recognize with grief, sadness, and it can be so overwhelming that actually meditation can really help them to have that ounce of calmness, ounce of presence, ounce of being in the moment, and not thinking back to certain things that are really distressing. Not that we're trying to hide anything, or that we're trying to run away from our grief, but it gives people a respite within their grief. Their grieving process is going to be their own individual grieving process. But if we can help those people by offering different types of meditation that just gives them a little bit of breathing space and a little bit of comfort and a little bit of control, because that's the other thing I see. People feel a little bit more in control, a bit empowered, because, actually I can do something about the way I'm feeling. And that I see all the time in my clients, and I've worked with thousands of clients, so that is something that really stands out.
Yeah, amazing. That's amazing. And I think, we'll talk about the grief retreats that we do together in a second, but one of the main motivations I know for you, and particularly and for myself as well, in working with people in grief, is because we've been there, haven't we? We've experienced, as most people have, it's grief is a natural part of life, isn't it? As death is a natural part of life. And do you think that your experience of kind of you've been through it, you've experienced what people are experiencing grief, do you think that helps your clients to, in that support that you offer them?
Yeah, I definitely think it does. I think people, it's have you, I'll have clients, have you lost anyone? How can you help me if you don't know what it feels like? And I think for grief particularly, it is important because it is so painful. Yeah. It is so painful for people that if they feel that you're just someone who's coming along, who's got a technique, and you're just going to use it and it'll all be all right. It's that they realise that, actually, if you've experienced it and this thing has helped you, my tapping and meditation work, if this has helped you and you're looking different than perhaps you were when you first lost somebody, then maybe it can help for me too. And I think that's really, really helpful for those grieving. It's like just being a little step ahead on that journey, so that they can see, actually, these things can help and benefit me. So maybe it's worth just trying them, because they're, the EFT and the meditation, they all just work so beautifully together, because they're both gentle techniques. They're things that everyone can do. They're simple. They don't cost anything. You can do them yourself. They're self-help tools, and I think that's really helpful for those grieving.
Yeah, absolutely. Grief is it's not a linear process, is it? As we always say in our work, it's not there's not a beginning and an end. There are ups and downs, and it's oftentimes kind of navigating your way through those ups and downs, isn't it? And I think having those self-help tools like meditation, like EFT, alongside obviously, therapy is extremely helpful, but for being able to have those tools that you can do yourself without having to rely on anybody can be really helpful, can't it, in grief?
Yeah, it really does. And I think, as a therapist working with grief, I do see those people that are stuck in grief, and they can be stuck for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. They can be stuck in grief. That is a process that one should be maneuvering through. So when they get stuck, how can I help them to get unstuck? And definitely the meditation helps. And along with the EFT and matrix imprint and a few other little techniques I use. But I think the other aspect to this is the transformational aspect. And I think really when we've been through massive traumas and losses, there is a potential to be able to use, I would say, that energy in a really positive way to help transform your life. Obviously not in the rawness of grief, but maybe as time moves forward. And meditation can come in beautifully there as well, because when you're meditating, that creativity can come out and you can see a new direction to maneuver into. So I love that that transformative ability as well, to actually really use our grief to honour that person that we've lost in a way that is really positive for us moving forward in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? I think that was one of the most inspiring things for me about you when I met you. Because I know when we first met, it wasn't very long after my mum had passed away. So I was kind of still in the raw stages of grief. And I know
Yeah,
I remember kind of meeting you, and, we got to know each other. And I know when your husband passed away, you've been through that journey yourself, but to see that, how you've kind of used that, well, obviously
yeah,
pain, you've kind of used that transformation, to then not only help yourself, but help other people. And I think that's just really, really inspiring to
yeah. Thank
see, yeah, to see. And also leads us on beautifully to your book, because
you.
that's also a huge, huge, a huge, hugely amazing thing that you've done, and a huge inspiration as well. So can you tell us a bit more about your book it's recently published, hasn't it?
Yes, recently published, Joy Beyond Grief, it's called, and it did take quite a few years in its in its manifestation, but it's here now. Yeah, and again, I've called it Joy Beyond Grief, so that we can really look at that transformational aspect. But it's a book. It's a book where I literally say, I hold your hand through your grieving experience, and it's one that you can pick up and put down. It's a book that you don't have to read in any order, really. There's 12 chapters, and I cover the aspects that perhaps aren't always covered in some of the more mainstream ways of looking at grief, because as we've talked about, I use energy techniques. So I talk about grief from an energy perspective. And there's 12 chapters, and at the end of each chapter, there's some self-love exercises, which include some meditations, some of the tapping, some other work with crystals, and all sorts of different things. So it's coming at grief, I would say, from a new perspective, and a way to help guide people through their own journey. A hand to hold as they're going along, but to come in and out of the book is great, or to read it as one beautiful soul that got back to me, read it cover to cover. So that's lovely. And I talk about my own experiences in there as well, because I think that's really important for people to realise I'm not just coming from this from a theory point of view. I'm coming at it from research, yeah. I'm coming at it from my own experience, and I'm coming at it from working thousands of clients. So it's a culmination of all those things coming together.
And I know you're putting together, or you're starting a program, aren't you, to kind of help people work through your.
Yeah. And that came to me in a meditation, actually. So this is all about manifesting meditations today. So I started in October, and it really came to me that actually it would be even better if I could spend time with people going through my book as well, and helping them understand, and using that as almost like a program to go through for 12 months with the 12 chapters. So I started in October, and we get together once a month for 2 hours, and we're gently working our way through all the chapters of the book. And I start a new program every 3 months.
Oh,
so although I started in October, that one will ride through till next year, but I'm starting one on the 8th of February as well. So if anybody wants to buy my book, and you get a lovely support booklet with it, and we get together twice for 2 hours once a month. So so it's lovely, and people can just read that chapter in that month's time, ready for the next one, and that just really felt absolutely the right thing to do to help people as well with the book.
That's so lovely, and I think that can be really helpful in grief, can't it? Because you've got that, one thing that we often talk about in meditation, or well, that is the most important thing for meditation, I would say, is that it's the consistency of the practice that is key. So that being able to support people to implement these practices into their everyday life is amazing.
Definitely. And I think, as we know, if people can get something into a habit space within their lives, then they'll keep it going. So absolutely. 21 days, perhaps some people talk about, if you do something for 21 days, you're more likely to keep going. And I think really, that's why I wanted to do that whole year through each chapter, reinforcing the things that are going to be helpful for them, and being there, to support them.
Yeah. Fantastic. I'm sure it'll be really, really helpful for so many people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Another way that you work with people through grief is through grief retreats, isn't it? And it's something that we do together.
We do.
So we'll just it'd be nice to just have a bit of a chat about that actually, because we've just been talking about our upcoming one, haven't we? Which is hopefully in March next year, at the end of March. So how do you find that kind of, how does it feel for you? Because I know obviously we both work together on this, but what do you think that retreat space offers for people who are grieving?
I think it offers that sort of almost sacred space. It offers them space, I think, more than anything, doesn't it? It offers them a time to come and honour their grief in a society where, as we said earlier, it's 100 miles an hour. Right, you've lost somebody, you've got 2 weeks off maybe if you're lucky, right back into work, and the grief gets pushed aside or it comes out, and and there's not time to honour and respect your feelings that are really important to honour and respect. And I think our grief retreats, I love doing with you, Catherine. I really truly enjoyed running them with you. Really offer that, and we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that we include the things that we think will be beneficial for people. It's over a long weekend, really, isn't it? To go and give them tools to go away with themselves and continue using, which we both, I know, feel is really important for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And we start, don't we? I mean, on the kind of Saturday's the main first day, really, isn't it? Once everybody's got to know each other and got comfortable in the space, and we always start with mindfulness, don't we? Which is because I find that is really helpful for people, just starting with that space of having awareness and acceptance about where you are right now in your grief journey. Because I know people that I work with, and I'm sure you've seen this, and in my own grief journey as well, there's often a resistance to how you're feeling. We either try and put on a brave face or we try and push it down. Often that's a very societal habit, isn't it? So just get on with it, carry on, push it down, keep busy, rather than actually sitting and thinking, okay, this is where I am, this is how I feel, and that's okay.
Oh, definitely. It really is. And as we said, grief is a unique experience for everyone, isn't it? And to come together with others grieving and seeing what's happening with them, and to have a chat, and don't we have lots of laughs as well? We have lots of sharing, which is beautiful, but we have lots of laughs as well. So it's a really needed thing that we do there, I think. I'm not like to blame me, don't trumpet with things, but I think, I'm so glad we're doing this together, because it just is needed, because there's so many people that are grieving, and as we've said, for so many years in some cases, they've never had the chance to just stop and realize where they are and what's going on for them, and then being able to see, as moving on from what you were saying on the Sunday, we start to look at perhaps how they can use the tools that we've given them to move forward in their life and maybe transform things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I really love about it, because we do spend time exploring, don't we, emotions and that space, but we do also spend that time looking at integrating grief, which is something that we've both done quite a bit of research on, isn't it? There's a theory called continuing bonds, and how we can continue that connection with our loved one. And I know for me that's really, really special to me, because meditation was the one thing that was my continuing bond with my mum. When she passed away, meditation was the one thing that kept me going through my grief journey, but also the space where I would kind of, talk to my mum. I'd go on to, little journeys in meditation, and I'd sit down, and I would cry, but it was also beautiful. And we really try and not encourage people to do that, that's an individual way, but we encourage people to find their own way, don't we, of continuing that connection with their loved one, or themselves, if it's not bereavement, because it's not necessarily bereavement that we always have people coming to the grief retreats with, is it? We've had people loss of relationships, loss of finances, and loss of sense of self.
Yeah, absolutely. There's thousands of different types of losses, really. Loss of freedom, loss of identity, And there's secondary losses as well. If you have lost somebody, then there could be loss of finance and loss of, where do I fit into this world? Who am I now? So there's so many different types of losses. Yeah, and we welcome everybody to come along that feels they're grieving from whatever situation that they find themselves in. And the other aspect that we do cover is going over some of those sort of myth things. Letting go. What does that mean? There's so many understandings that are a little bit skewed, I would say, from a societal point of view, that we actually go over and help people to understand a little bit better, so that they can integrate that if that's what's needed for them on an individual level.
Yeah, absolutely. And we focus a lot on compassion, don't we? And I know loving kindness meditations and kind of self-compassion is, I know that's something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, likewise. We both find that self-compassion, because we can be so hard on ourselves. All of us can be. We're often harder on ourselves than we are on anybody else. And again, those retreats give that space to just give ourselves a little bit of kindness and a little bit of love, recognizing that what we go through with grief is a big deal. It's not just something, it's just, get on. It's not. It's something that is a really big deal. It can be really painful for us, and can lead to all sorts of things. We don't just help ourselves to move through it in a gentle, soft way and integrate that loss into our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And meditation can be a huge part of that, can't it?
Massive.
So, yeah, I think that's a lovely place to maybe round it off. It's been really nice to chat with you and catch up. As we know, I mean, we literally do sit for hours talking about this anyway, don't we? So, put it into half an hour has been quite a challenge.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was trying to speak really fast. No, but it's, as always, it's absolutely a pleasure talking with you, and we do share our love of helping those that are grieving. And meditation is a beautiful, beautiful way to help yourself within your own loss.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us. I will share obviously the details of your book along with this podcast, and I will share the details of your program that go alongside that as well. And as we said, our next Grieving Hearts retreat, we've come up with a title now, haven't we? We have a name for them. Grieving Hearts retreats will be end of March, so we'll pop details on the podcast about that as well. So yeah, thank you so much. Oh, just one other thing actually, Janice, before I let you go, if that's all right.
Yeah.
So put you on the spot here.
No.
One thing that I usually ask guests before we leave is, if you could offer one piece of advice to somebody who is new to meditation or kind of just starting out in meditation, what might that be?
Don't listen to anyone who tells you can't meditate. Don't listen to that classic "I can't meditate." Don't be open. Just really be open, because if anyone thought they couldn't meditate, it was been me. I literally used to sit and shake because I just couldn't be that still, and that showed me something wasn't right. And that led me into a beautiful journey of meditation. So don't. Everyone can meditate.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okie doke. Thank you. I'll see you soon. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.